Star Wars Episode IV: A New Hope is an epic space opera film directed by George Lucas and stars Mark Hamill, Harrison Ford, and Carrie Fisher. Now, what can I say about this film that hasn't been already said by millions of people? Not only is this a great movie, but it is one of the greatest films of all time. This movie influenced hundreds of films after Star Wars came out. A lot of the science fiction action movies that came out after 1977 owe a lot to this film. Although, if I was to be honest about Star Wars Episode IV, I would say it's not a masterpiece. Like, it's a fantastic film, no question about that, but there are some things about it that just don't hold up anymore. So I probably wouldn't put it into the masterpiece category. I'll talk about the gripes I have first, and these gripes are only minimal. Like, these gripes literally don't hurt the movie in any way. The writing in this movie is a bit cheesy, and the dialogue can be a bit unbearable at points. A lot of the dialogue in this film feels very reminiscent to what we would see later on in the prequel films. The visual effects, even though they were groundbreaking at the time, they just don't hold up anymore. And even with the special editions, they still don't look good. And my last gripe with this film is the characters. I love the characters, but some of them come off a bit whiny. Like, the character of Luke Skywalker whines throughout the film, like that one line, "But I wanted to go to Toshi Station to pick up some power converters." But like I said, these gripes are only minimal. But what did I like about this? I liked everything in this film. When I first saw this film, I was blown away. And the story is quite simple. Like, it's a simple story of good versus evil. This is a story that is timeless, because this is a story that you can share with future generations and get them interested in Star Wars. And for a film that is 40 years old, this film holds up immensely well. The characters, while some of them don't have proper development here, they're interesting characters enough. The only character that gets a proper development is Luke Skywalker. The other characters, we just get a brief look into their backstory, but that's why we have the prequels and sequels to give us more backstory on these characters. The action scenes were incredible. The space fight at the end of the film is, in my opinion, the best space fight in any of the Star Wars films. And while the battle with Darth Vader and Obi-Wan is a bit clunky, like literally they're just tapping their sticks together, it is interesting to see these characters fight with lightsabers for the first time. And don't forget, this is the film that started the Star Wars universe. And a lot was riding on this film, because if you look at the making of this film, this wasn't an easy film to make, because we hadn't gotten a science fiction film like this before. Because science fiction films in the past were mainly just monster movies where, like, the science fiction came from monsters that were made on Earth. And with everything in this film, like the story, the characters, the aliens, this is a film by all means shouldn't have worked, but it did, and 40 years later, we're still watching these films. Getting back into the film, the music, oh, the music is so good. The composer was John Williams, and this was absolutely his best work. The first time I heard the Star Wars theme, my head exploded. It was the best sounding theme I've ever heard. And I love the characters. Han Solo, Chewbacca, Luke, Obi-Wan, Princess Leia, R2-D2, C-3PO, and especially Darth Vader, who is my all-time favorite movie villain. Everything in this film is memorable. Every shot and frame is memorable. Like the shot of Luke looking at the two suns setting on Tatooine, that is an iconic shot. And even though the more times I watch this film, the more I find little errors in the film, this film will still hold up for years to come. The legacy of this film cannot be understated. This is the film that influenced a lot of science fiction and action films today. And while it's a simple story and there is no character development for a lot of these characters, it's a story that can be retold to generation after generation after generation. So overall, this is one of the greatest films of all time for good reason. This is a film that is two things: fun and enjoyable, and that's all we need. Even though it's not a film that mentally challenges you, it doesn't need to be. All it is a simple story that can be enjoyed by anyone. And if you're one of those few people who haven't seen this movie, I would absolutely highly recommend watching this. And I'm gonna give Star Wars Episode IV: A New Hope a 10 out of 10. Thank you so much for watching. If you like what you see, be sure to like my Facebook page, follow me on Twitter, and subscribe to my channel below. As always, I'm NETX5. Thank you so much for watching.